Well, hi there. I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich, and I like to talk about leadership and engineering. In this short video, I'd like to talk about the topic of behaving in ways that are socially acceptable. So, it's for some of you listening, you'll be like, well, duh. But, over my career, there's been a surprising number of engineers who really push back on that idea. In general, I'd say my experience is that the objections kind of fall into the category of, what's shallow thinking, who cares about social acceptability, and, I've got bigger things to think about. I think some of the pushbacks there, some of the other pushback is just sort of a refusal to hear feedback. I had an employee years ago who was an electrical engineer, just a maddening guy to deal with. And, I used to get complaints about him just all the time. People in the department were constantly frustrated with him. People outside the department were frustrated. And I think he's the only employee I ever had where vendors would call up and complain about this guy. They're complaining that he was trying to get work for free and taking advantage of them and not telling the truth. I mean, it was really weird, like the degree to which we got complaints against this guy. And the bottom line was, they were frustrated, and looking back on it, he was just simply, making everyone he came into contact with him angry. And I remember I sat him down, and I was a fairly new manager and didn't know what to say, and I just tried to tell him, look, it's not good that we're having these complaints. And I said, there's the way you're behaving is socially unacceptable. And I remember he got very angry, and then he got sort of accusative, and he started talking. He shifted the topic. He started talking about political correctness, and you Democrats want us all to be politically correct, and all this. Well, I'm not a Democrat. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Republican either. I'm independent, but I've never been a Democrat, and certainly I've never supported the idea of political correctness. I think that's just insanity. But he was sort of deflecting, refusing to talk about social acceptability, and instead trying to get it to talk about something that was somebody else's fault. And I really couldn't think of anything to say to him. And when I finally decided, he's just kind of pushing back, and I finally thought, I don't care. And so, that was a very significant thing, right? I mean, he was a guy who had a real problem. His career, certainly, I run into him every now and then, and he's been an engineer. He's been able to, pay the bills and do all that. But certainly there's no question in my mind that his career could have been a lot more than it was. And he really suffered from just never leaning into this idea. And in that exchange, did I lose? Nah, not really. Did he lose? Well, yeah. He was very foolish for not listening to some feedback on an area that he really struggled with. So, okay, so let's suppose I had that same conversation today. What would I say? Well, I've figured out a few things since then. I've read a little bit of research since then, and this is what I think I would say today. I said, what is social? What is the concept of being socially acceptable or behaving in ways that are socially acceptable? And it's simply this: when we say, that's not socially acceptable, what we're saying is, for most people, this behavior or these words or whatever are going to make them feel really bad. And what we know about the modern leadership paradigms is, people do their best work when they feel good. I mean, if you're an engineer and you're designing something and somebody comes and just treats you really rudely, are you then going to be able to sit at your desk and all of a sudden you're at the height of creativity? That's nonsense. The big collective realization in the leadership community in the somewhere between 2000 and 2005 is just simply that. You do your best work and you feel good, and the immediate corollary is to have people who are going around making everybody angry and everybody sad and everybody just not feeling good is unacceptable. So let me say it another way. When you say, I don't care if I behave socially acceptable. What you're saying is, I don't care if I'm a big fat bully. See, when you say, I don't care how I make people feel, that is fundamentally what bullies are. And, what was really kind of ironic when I think about that engineer story is I know part of their story is, they were bullied and so on. And isn't that interesting? The one who was bullied, then the first chance they get, they become the bully. And so, I think for most of us, we don't want to be a bully. We don't want to be the guy that's just disrupting everybody around us. And, so if you get some feedback that, there's a problem with behaving in socially acceptable ways, that is something that will limit your career. You won't experience the success you might otherwise. And it really is important to take that to heart because, I don't think any of us want to be a bully. At any rate, I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich. Thanks for listening. You can find more videos on engineering and leadership on my website, tomulrichconsulting.com. On YouTube, you can search for Dr. Tom Ulrich, or I think you can also search for Engineering Leadership Guy. And we'll talk to you next time.